Hello and welcome to You with Jesus. Whole books have been written on this next passage and we've only got 10 minutes. So I want to try and find something fresh and challenging and encouraging for us in this episode. So let's jump in and read the text. Immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." Now, the Sea of Galilee is a reasonably large body of water, but from where they were to where Jesus had to go, it's at the most about a 30-minute sailing trip, and under normal circumstances, they should have arrived well ahead of Jesus. But he had a few things he wanted to do first, like he had to dismiss the crowd of 5,000, then he's going to climb a mountain and spend the night alone in prayer to his Father, then come back down the mountain and join up with his disciples. In terms of timing, we're told that he fed the 5,000 as evening approached. Then they're fed, then the disciples are put in the boat and sent on their way. Then Jesus is praying through the night. Then we read, shortly before dawn, he comes out on the water. So doing the math, we should have about a 30-minute trip for the disciples that's now turned into a 10-hour sailing saga. And typical of Jesus, he has been calmly doing what he calmly likes to do, spending time with his Father in prayer, while his disciples are having a big stress out. There's several stories like this in the Gospels where Jesus is off doing one thing, usually prayer, while his disciples are panicking someplace else. And that reminds me of a very important point about life and following Jesus. If you want to be like Jesus, it's going to mean being and doing what you should be doing, where and when you should be doing it, and not living in response mode to the needs around you and trying to please everyone. You actually cannot be a people pleaser and a Jesus follower at the same time. I can imagine the disciples being put into the boat by Jesus and being sent to the other side of the lake, and I can imagine a discussion ensuing at this point. Why isn't he coming? Something challenging always happens when he intentionally leaves us. I'm not liking the look of this. Then someone else saying, "Look, it's perfectly fine. He said he'd meet us on the other side of the lake. Let's go." And off they set. And after 30 minutes, it becomes clear that the wind was actually blowing in the opposite direction to where they were going. And simply getting to the other side was not going to be as simple as it sounded. Now, they couldn't text Jesus to say, "There's been a change of plans. We're not going to try and get to the other side. We're going to let the wind just blow us back towards Capernaum." So credit to them. They were toughing it out, doing their best to meet Jesus at the agreed meeting point. Now, did Jesus have any idea of what was happening out there in the middle of the lake? You betcha. He's a bit cheeky, really. Jesus, Lord of creation, Son of God, from whom no knowledge is hidden, sends them into this experience, an experience they most definitely would not have chosen for themselves. You know, you can read the books, you can go to church, but you can only really grow and learn when you are put into situations where you have to trust God in the face of challenging situations. Those times when you have to decide, do I believe or do I not believe that God is good, that God is faithful, that Jesus has sent me to the other side, and because of that, he will fulfill his promise to safely get us there. One of the things I've enjoyed most over the years is leading what we call short-term mission teams. I've led about a dozen or more of these trips into Southeast Asia or into places of Australia with teenagers, young adults, and older people who want to put their faith into action by caring for the poor and showing God's love. And singing songs and trusting God in church or listening to a sermon about trusting God, they're all inspiring activities. But when you have to trust God outside of your comfort zone, be that on a short-term mission trip or in some other kind of community service or outreach that you might be involved in. That's really where the learning takes place. And time away together in community, in a hothouse environment, is essential for true, deep, and lasting learning to take place. And all of the disciples grew in their faith through this encounter as they experienced being caught in a storm, then seeing Jesus coming toward them, walking in the water, then him calming the storm and bringing them safely to the shore. They all experienced that. But there's no doubt that the one who got the most out of the experience was the Apostle Peter, who said, "Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come out on the water with you." What a remarkable request. To my mind, it would have made a lot more sense for him to say, "If it's really you, calm this storm." But no, he says, "If it's really you, tell me to come out on the water." That is not a safe way to confirm Jesus' identity. There's nothing cautious about that request at all. A furious storm is one thing. Getting out of the boat and attempting to walk on those stormy seas, that's just lunacy. People in this part of the world, in fact, across most of the world, a lot of fishing-dominated economies, the fishermen, they don't know how to swim. And I don't think these disciples knew how to swim. He was in big trouble if this wasn't going to work out. And as I spent time praying into this story and asking God, what's going on? I started to hear the heart of Peter saying, I want in on this crazy adventure. I want to do what Jesus does. Here I am. Send me. If it's really you, cause me to do something that only could be done through the power that you give me to do it. Most of us are risk averse. We live our lives in tidy predictabilities. We seek to minimize any situation where something might go wrong or become challenging. We know God can do anything, but we prefer if that happens external to us and we get to watch. But there is a life of faith where you willingly go out of your way to put yourself in situations of impossibility in order that if God doesn't come through, this could all end very badly. Situations where you are desperate for God to show his power. You don't want to be an onlooker to manifestations of his power and glory. You want to be in the middle of the action, trusting God as a matter of life and death for you personally. You want to be up close and personal. You want to be so far out on a limb that when the branch breaks, only his safe and powerful arms can break your landing. Sure, you can watch from the safety of the boat, and at the end of the day, you'll be able to say, together with everybody else who stayed in the boat, "Wow, I saw what you just did there, Jesus. Truly, you are the Son of God." Or you can say, "Let's do this together, Jesus. If you say to come," which is an important qualifier here. We don't want to get into the situation where blindly attempting to do things like walk on water that Jesus hasn't asked us to do. But if you say to come, I'm getting out of the boat. I don't want to be an onlooker or a third party. I don't want to watch from the sidelines while other people are trusting you. I want to be right there with you, risking reputation, risking others' opinions, risking failure, even life itself for the sake of following and trusting you. I want to be a first responder. I want to step out, even if it means not thinking through all the what ifs and all the buts and the maybes, because I'm trusting Jesus with all the detail. So Lord, if it's you, I don't want to watch from a safe place. I want to come. Here I am. Send me. Let's do this together. And it can get scary. Our faith is never perfect. The doubts will come. Our faith will fail at times. And if you're worried about failure, you'll never get out of the boat. But the one who calls us from our place of safety and comfort to him in that place of total trust is faithful. And he will enable us to do what only he can do. And when we take our eyes off Jesus and when we stumble and we cry out to him, he will be there to rescue us. And for those of you who love jumping out of boats and walking on water, I know there's a few of you out there, keep in mind that there are times when you think Jesus is saying come, but is actually saying wait, not yet, or not you. So don't try and make something happen that Jesus isn't ordaining. Now, of course, there's loads more learnings embedded in this story beyond the few that I've just touched on. So I encourage you to read and reflect on this passage more in your own time and allow Jesus to speak into your situation based on what you read. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next episode.